Hey, what's up, Marvel fans? Welcome back to Multiverse of Mayhem. I'm KT, and today we're diving into one of the most incredible behind-the-scenes stories from the MCU, how Charlie Cox went from thinking his time as Daredevil was completely over when Kevin Feige called him out of the blue. This is a story about legal embargoes, corporate politics, and a phone call that changed everything. Charlie Cox's return as Daredevil in Spider-Man: No Way Home was a moment that sent fans into an absolute hysteria. But the journey to get there was far more complicated than anyone realized. From a 2-year legal embargo that prevented Marvel Studios from even contacting him, to a pandemic phone call that left him wondering if he'd dreamed the whole thing up. This is the wild story of how the devil of Hell's Kitchen found his way back into the MCU. Let's start at the beginning. November 2018, Netflix canceled Daredevil after 3 critically acclaimed seasons, leaving Charlie Cox and millions of fans devastated. The show has been a massive success, earning praise for its grounded storytelling, incredible fight choreography, and Cox's nuanced portrayal of Matt Murdock. But when the axe fell, it felt final. Cox received that crushing phone call. "We're sorry, but the show's been canceled." And then, nothing. Complete radio silence from Marvel for over 2 years. The actor had to move on with his life, taking other projects and trying to put Daredevil behind him. He had no idea that behind the scenes, a complex web of legal issues was preventing Marvel Studios from even reaching out to him. What Cox didn't know at the time was that there was a legal embargo in place. According to the original Netflix contract, Marvel couldn't use any of the Defenders characters, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, or Iron Fist, in any non-Netflix properties for at least 2 years after their respective series were canceled. With Daredevil canceled in November 2018, this meant Marvel's hands were tied until late 2020. It was a binding legal clause that kept these beloved characters in limbo. Fast forward to the middle of 2020, the world was in lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and Cox was spending time at home with his family. He and his wife had just returned from a walk with their children when he noticed a voicemail on his phone. The message was simple but shocking. "This is Kevin Feige's assistant. Would you please call us back?" Cox immediately called back, and his wife was beside herself with anticipation. As Cox put it, "My wife freaked out, and I immediately called the number and was put through to Kevin." But here's the thing. Cox had barely interacted with Feige before. The Netflix shows were produced by Marvel Television, a separate entity completely from Marvel Studios, so Feige hadn't been involved with the original Daredevil series. Cox's first thoughts wasn't about reprising Daredevil at all. He figured maybe Feige was going to ask him to participate in some charity event or make a video to raise funds during the pandemic. The idea of returning as Matt Murdock seemed impossible. After all, he hadn't heard anything from Marvel in over 2 years. But then, Feige dropped the bombshell. "Do you want to come back and do some more Daredevil stuff? If so, we'd like to put you in Spider-Man: No Way Home, and would like to put you in She-Hulk." Cox was absolutely stunned as he later described it. "I was absolutely blown away, couldn't believe it." But here's where the story gets a little more interesting. After the initial call from Feige, Cox didn't hear anything from Marvel for 3 months. 3 entire months of radio silence. During this time, Cox started to seriously question his own sanity. Had the phone call actually happened? Was there just a stress-induced hallucination? "I got to the point where I wondered if I dreamt it," Cox admitted in interviews. The silence was so complete that he genuinely began to doubt whether the conversation with Kevin Feige had even taken place. This is Marvel's notorious secrecy culture at work. Even when they want you, they might not contact you for months while they figure out the logistics. During this uncertain period, Cox would occasionally chat with his former co-star, Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin. D'Onofrio was always optimistic that they'd get the call back, constantly telling Cox, "They're going to call. I think they're going to call us." But Cox had given up hope. He'd get off these motivational, encouraging calls thinking, "This guy's delusional. He's got to let it go. It's over. It's definitely over." Cox had completely let go of any possibility of returning to the role. He'd moved on emotionally and professionally, convinced that his time as Daredevil was finished forever. The character that had defined a significant portion of his career seemed to be ancient history. Then, after months of silence, finally the second call came. This time it was real, it was happening, and Cox was officially returning to the MCU. He would appear in Spider-Man: No Way Home and She-Hulk, marking Daredevil's integration back into the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. Cox was shocked all over again. After convincing himself it was over, the character was suddenly back. But now came a new challenge, keeping it secret. Cox filmed his scenes for Spider-Man No Way Home in March of 2021, but the movie wouldn't be released until December. That meant keeping one of the most anticipated returns in Marvel history under wraps for almost a year. As Cox put it, I had to keep a secret for almost a year, and then of course it didn't come out till December, so over a year. So yeah, it's been intense, he said. During this period, Cox had to master the art of deflection. In interviews, he'd carefully avoid confirming or denying his involvement, often expressing concerns that saying that the wrong thing might jeopardize his chances with Marvel. The pressure was immense. One wrong word could potentially ruin everything. Meanwhile, fans were going crazy with speculation. Rumors were flying about Cox's involvement in No Way Home, and every interview he gave was dissected for clues. The secrecy was both thrilling and torturous for everyone involved. What makes this story even more remarkable is that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios had to wait out that 2-year legal embargo. They couldn't even contact Cox until the Netflix contract restrictions expired. The fact that Feige called Cox immediately after the embargo lifted shows just how much Marvel valued the character and Cox's portrayal. This wasn't a business decision. It was a response to years of fan campaigns demanding Cox's return. The passionate fan base that had supported Daredevil through its Netflix run and mourned its cancellation had made their voices heard loud and clear. Marvel was listening, and when they legally could, they acted. Today, Charlie Cox is firmly established as the MCU's Daredevil, with Born Again bringing the character back for a full series on Disney+. But this journey, from cancellation to legal limbo to the shocking phone calls, shows just how complicated the entertainment industry can be behind the scenes. What do you think about Charlie Cox's incredible journey back to Daredevil? Have you tuned in? Have you checked out Daredevil Born Again? What do you think? Were you surprised by the legal complications that kept him out of the MCU? Let me know in the comments below. Hit me up. I'll get back to you. And don't forget to like, subscribe for more behind the scenes Marvel, Star Wars, DCU content coming every week here on Multiverse of Mayhem. See you next time.